Alrighty, CNT140, this is Mr. Brown. We're going to take a quick look at our bid specification project we are going to complete this semester. So first thing we'll note, on the content page, there is an actual separate folder or section dedicated to the bid specification project. As I open that folder, there is the read area, there's the watch area, and the do area. If I take a look at the read, this is the general files that describes the project itself, the map of the building we're going to do, and the packet tracer file that we're going to put a bunch of our cabling into. So those files I would download right away and maybe make a folder for them, or make a folder on your Google Drive. That's what I have here to put my files into. After that, watch the overview, which is this podcast, and then make mental note that as the semester goes, these folders will open up that they'll have in a notes file and also a podcast on how to do this piece of the plan. And as you see, I tried to break it down into many small pieces. That way we can chip away at this all semester long. The other thing to make note of is at any point if you fall behind, these are here. You can always read those notes, watch those podcasts, and catch yourself back up on this project. Alrighty, so first thing, I downloaded these files. I have them handy. The first thing, let's take a peek at that. Overview and rubric. So here is the overview of the bid specification project. If I scroll down through, I'm just going to scroll down through the whole thing first. Here's an overview and some notes about what will be needed. We're going to keep going. Here's the actual project requirements, and I have it broken down as to what pieces you're going to submit, and I'm going to go through samples of these here in just a minute. We're going to keep going. Here's some things about pulling it together as well as writing style. We will have to do just a little bit of writing at the end, and it's really just a couple paragraphs, that's it. But I remind people it's technical writing, so we're going to try to write like third person, that sort of thing. Keep going. Here's the map of the building we're going to cable. We're going to pretend to cable the Hall Tech building here at the Harrisburg campus, the building that we meet in for our classes. So we're going to pretend to cable this building. It's something that we're sitting in so we can take a look at. I'm going to keep going. And here is the rubric of the things that we'll need to complete and the breakdown of points. So this you eventually can use as a checklist to make sure that you have all the pieces. I copied this from D2L, so I had to kind of span across multiple pages to get here. So there's all those pieces there. And that is what's in the overview. Okay, let's scroll back to the beginning. First thing is we're going to write a bid specification. In businesses, it's pretty common that if you have to have a special project done, that a call goes out to companies or business in the area to say, hey, we need this special project done. Can you put an estimate in or a bid in for how much it would take, how much it would cost to do this particular project? So they'll say, hey, we're going to put this out to bid, and then companies are going to submit a bid or going to submit an estimate on what it'll cost to do this particular project, a technology upgrade, or even installing windows and in doors and buildings and that sort of things. So we're going to pretend to answer a bid call for cabling a particular building. In 120, we did a real basic network plan. CNT125, we take that plan a step further and we actually hook up the routers and switches and make it work. But for the most part, on both of those, we kind of ignored the physical layer. This time, we're going to address the physical layer. And we're going to I want to say ignore the routers and switches, but we're going to really just zero in on the physical layer and put that stuff on the back burner. So we are going to pretend to do the physical plant or the physical cabling for a building. Here's some notes about what particular areas of the building will need, what the classrooms will need, what kind of wireless coverage, where the equipment closets are, budget. We don't have a budget number yet. We're trying to do a bid so they can get a budget number, so we're going to do our best to come up with a complete plan, but we're not going to dwell on the numbers. That just makes life a little bit easier for you this first time through. We're not going to get hung up on the cost of the plan. We're going to just try to get a complete plan for the customer. And the timeline is, we're going to try to get the bid together that they might actually be doing this in the summer, if you will, or, when the next semester break comes around, if you will. keep going. Here is the pieces we'll eventually need to pull together. So I'm going to go through these and I'm going to show you samples of what I have so you know kind of what we're aiming towards. One of the last things we'll do is we'll pull together a Microsoft Word file that answers a couple questions about the building. Actually, excuse me, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. This is actually our spreadsheet. The Microsoft Word file is down here at the end. That's why I have it listed at the end. So one of the first things we're going to do is start building our spreadsheet, and this is going to contain quite a bit of information for our plan. So let me open my sample. Here's my Spec folder, and I'm going to open my spreadsheet right here, and we're going to build to this. So it might look like a lot from the get-go, but we're going to build to this. In that spreadsheet, we'll have a cabling estimation and patch panel layout, some documentation, and then eventually the cost sheet for all the equipment. So here I have two tabs. One is, this is all the cabling estimation for the building, what kind of cabling is needed, and then I started documenting over here on the right how all these ports are going to get used on the patch panel, how the patch panel ports are going to get allocated to these rooms. So I actually put both of these on one tab. The other tab I have here is the cost. What is it going to cost to cable this building? So I started putting the areas of my plan. I color-coded it just to make it easier to read, the different parts of my plan, and then down here a grand total for what it's going to cost to cable this particular building. And again, we're not getting hung up on the dollar number. We're just trying to get a complete plan. As we go, I'll be reminding you of that. In real life, you might shop around and try to get the best deal. We're not going to do that on this plan. We're just going to try to get real pieces of equipment and real prices. In real life, you would shop around, maybe get best prices, but we're just going to try to get the real equipment and real prices. So that's the first thing that we have on our list here that we're going to build as the semester goes. One of the next things we're going to do is we're going to do some cable planning maps. So one of them is we're actually going to do a little Google Draw to show a piece of our plan. So let me open up my map of my building. Here's my cable plan map. What I did is I downloaded the JPEG of the building into Google Draw, and I just located on here some things like my closets and my cable trays. That is stuff that could not easily be shown in the other document we're going to do. The other document we're going to do is going to be our Cisco packet tracer file. Now, when we first download and open that, it's going to look blank, but when I go to the physical side, I actually have, let me zoom out here a little bit. I actually have in here, the Harrisburg City, and when I open that up, I have the Hall Tech building, and I loaded a blueprint of the building. We are actually going to put our closets and cabling on top of this. So this is what it's going to look like when we start. When we get done, let me open my sample here. This should be my demo file. There we go. We're going to give this just a second to load. When we're done, it's going to have on all the cabling and cabling equipment for the plan. So again, this is going to be something we're building as the semester goes. So as I open this guy now, let me get him to fit in the window here for us. Oops, get back here. I think I ended up with 2 copies of that, so there we go. We're going to open, there we go. So I'm going to open this guy. Here's the logical side. We're going to flip over to the physical side. There's Harrisburg City. You notice I superimposed the scale on here. That way I have this building kind of scaled. And I even have the scale of the building here too. When I open the Hall Tech building, I'm going to shut off the Wi-Fi coverage. That's the purple. And let me zoom out just a little bit. There we go. You'll see the rooms of our building, the outlet boxes in there, and the cabling going back to our closets. As I open the closets, I will actually see the patch panels, and eventually we're going to put switches in for connectivity. But we have our cable infrastructure in here for our plan. So we're going to be able to see the actual cable infrastructure as it would be, so to speak, for real. That's the other piece that we will have here. So we'll have the packet tracer file that's going to have the closets, work area outlets, horizontal cabling, backbone cabling, access points, all those things in there for our plan. And then what we can't show on the packet tracer file we'll put into a Google Draw file. I can't easily show the cable trays and that sort of thing. So that's the next piece of our plan. We're also going to have equipment rack drawings. Well, in my packet tracer file, I can actually see, let me go back here, I can actually see the equipment racks. There's not a lot of equipment in here, but I can at least see the patch panels and equipment that'll be there. What we will also do is we will do a version of this on our draw.io. So let me open up our rack drawing. Here we go. I'm going to open my rack drawing here, and we'll see that we have a diagram version of this that actually shows. I'm putting both closets on one file here. And here's the main closet, here's the secondary closet. And here I'm actually able to show a little bit more. I have my patch panels, I have my wire management panel, I have my switches in here, power strips, that sort of thing. So we will have a version of this as well to document how our closets will look in our plan. As we do our cable trays, we're going to need to make sure we are picking a tray that is large enough for our plan. So we're going to do a quick little check on the install guide, and we're going to select our cable tray based on the data for the install from the company website on their install. So we'll pull up their table and indicate the tray we're picking and the reason we are. This has delineated how many cables can support how many cables can fit any specific size of tray. So we will do that as we pick out our cable trays. When we get to the end, we're going to do a quick little timeline of what it would look like to try to install this plan for a customer. So we open up this right here. Here should be our project plan. As we do this later this semester, you'll notice I'm going to focus on mainly the tasks, not so much the timeline, but the tasks on the left. We're going to think through these tasks to say, what would I do first, second, third, and try to get them in a fairly good order. And on the right, we actually try to indicate a little bit of a timeline of how long it would take to do that particular task. And this is something in real life with more experience, and depending on how big your team is, this would change or fluctuate. But we're going to at least try to get all of our tasks in order and try to kind of ballpark. It would take about a week to do this, a week to do that sort of thing. This will be our project plan that we're going to do towards the end of the semester to kind of recap how would we do this whole thing. Then the last part of our plan, this is the part I accidentally started on, we'll do just a little bit of writing, kind of like a paragraph for each one of these to say, these are things that I could not easily put in my charts and maps earlier. So what are we going to do for our media? How do we choose it? Closets, etc., etc. So what we'll do is I'm going to open up my project descriptions here. Mine is more like a guideline for you, but I'll say, hey, for my plan, I chose this media. This is the reason I did, etc. For my closet, this is the closets I selected, and this is the reason I did. For the cable routing, we're using trays in the hallway, J-hooks in the room. This is how we're going to do it, etc., etc. So these are the things that don't easily fit in all the other spreadsheets and maps and so forth. So this is something we kind of do towards the end to summarize what we did for our customer, for our plan. When it gets to be the end of the semester, we'll pull these files together and literally just submit all these files individually. So in my folder here, I would grab all these files and submit them to D2L. I don't need to combine them into anything. And when you submit them, I'm just going to open up each file individually and check off, yes, I see all those pieces, yes, I see all those pieces, and so forth. So we're going to do this for our customer to put in a physical plan for their building, a physical plan, a cable plan for their building. That's what we'll be focusing on in our cabling class, our 140 class this semester. So this right here, I'm going to jump back over here to D2L. This is your initial files. This is the overview you're looking at right now, and as the semester goes, these folders will be opening up kind of like week by week, and in here will be notes pages and podcasts on how to do that piece of the plan.